Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining a master class. We have Mr. E.P. Saxena, who's a senior consultant at Lex Fabio, and he was formerly with National Housing Bank. Mr. Saxena needs no introduction. He is a leading expert and expert on regulatory guidance for housing finance companies. Welcome, Mr. Saxena. And Mr. Saxena is gonna be taking this master class on regulatory issues and challenges on faced by the housing finance company. Over to you, Mr. Saxena.
Yeah, thank you, Somesh. Uh, Dear participants, it's first of all, there are only few. So if you can introduce yourself, who are there, so that I can uh, come to know. Are you hearing me?
Yes,
Who is?
sir. I am Dhara from Mamta Housing Finance.
Okay, fine, Dhara. Yeah, nice meeting you. Nice seeing you
You
on the.
can hear, sir?
Yeah, I can hear. Next one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Who is the other one?
We have Mr. Jitendra and Mr. Sunil.
Okay, very fine. I think the people will come and join as it progress. First of all, I compliment the Lex Fabios and Mr. Sumesh for taking this initiative of familiarizing the regulatory issues with the housing finance companies and NBFCs and the others who intend to be or they are in business of housing finance. Yeah, Satrup Mitra, which company you belong to, Mr. Satrup?
Yeah, hi sir.
Hi.
This is
Yeah. Yeah.
Shodrupa from HDFC, and we have the entire legal team here as well. I have Shubham and Nisha with me,
Okay.
and Priyansh will also be joining your presentation.
Okay, fine. Yeah, nice. So I hope you will enjoy and feel free to
Hi.
ask. Feel free to ask the questions because
Thank you, sir. Looking forward.
this is not educational, but I want this to be interactive, and you will be getting some more series because RBI has come out with a master directions yesterday circular, master directions, detailed circular directions
Yes.
for the housing finance companies. So there are many more issues which needs to be discussed, interacted to get into the business of housing finance. So
Right, sir.
this is the my first attempt in association with Lex Fabios, and Sumesh Diwan is the organizer of this program. So I first compliment him for taking this initiative, and I hope this program would go a long way in benefiting the people community and the fraternity of the housing finance. So
Thank you so much, sir. We are really looking forward to it. We are all from HDFC actually, HDFC Limited, and we work very closely with Mr. Diwan's firm.
Okay, right.
Thanks a lot.
To start with, I have a small presentation. This is based on the earlier directions which has come out by RBI on October 22nd, 2020. This was the first set of directions which the RBI has come out for the housing finance companies, and they have said in that direction circular they will be coming out with the detailed directions which have come. And now on 17th February, they have come out with that master directions. So in the successive series, we'll take up the detailed discussions also. So I will share this with my presentation here. Host disabled participant. Sumesh, you have to allow me to sharing screen. I am getting host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yes, sir. Can you share now?
Let me see. Okay. Still it is disabled. It shows it says so. Kindly mute your microphone, otherwise you will get a noise.
Can everyone please mute? But Saxena, you are on yeah, screen share.
Okay. It is
You
still
can share now. Yes, sir.
okay. Can you view the presentation?
Not, no, sir.
No, because you have not allowed me to share the screen.
Sir, I have allowed.
Yeah, now it is there. Now, can you view? Sumesh, can you view?
Yes, sir. We can view now. Please.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's a subject is paradigm shift in regulatory framework of housing finance companies and the challenges and opportunities. So these new changes, new regulatory directions have come from RBI on October 22, 2020. And what are those changes? I will just highlight those changes. First of all, why changes in regulatory framework a paradigm shift? These are my points for discussions. Focus area of shift and implications. What are the challenges and opportunities? What are the government and regulatory initiatives in the present COVID and post-COVID scenario? And way forward opportunities and challenges. So to start with, why the changes are. So just to be a brief, take you to the history part of it, a little perspective behind the change is that, you know, the RBI role of NHB has been always taken as a conflicting role because they are a regulator and refinance and equity support. So one hand is doing the finance part and the other hand is doing the regulation. So these two aspects of NHB's role were taken as a conflicting role. So this is from that very quite a long before these were have been the topic of discussions. There was a bill seeking amendment because, you know, NHB like NABARD, there was a transfer of ownership to government, and there in the bill the subject was transferring the regulatory role of NHB to RBI was there, though the bill could not see the light of the day and it was lapsed, and the changes have been brought in by the Finance Act of 2019. So why the changes? Because, you know, NBFC per se, their activities, they are called the shadow banking. They are, but they have a very important role to play. They have gone to the root, the bottom of the pyramid and serving the people inclusion, financial inclusion. But the risk perception was high in the minds of the parliamentarians and the RBI, NHB reports also, because NHB, RBI is coming out with financial stability report, and this was always been the shaded area of the risk perception of para banking. There was some regulatory arbitrage in the governance of HFCs and NBFCs. Idea was to smoothen them out. Collapse of ILFS and Diwan HFL led to liquidity strain and triggered the pace of regulatory reforms. So one major NBFC and the housing finance company, they have collapsed and they have brought a lot of liquidity strains in the market. So this has increased the pace of changes. Harmonization in classification of NBFCs. There were a large number of NBFCs, various groups, activity group ways wise NBFC. The idea was to harmonize the NBFC segment. And, you know, the lending and investment category of NBFC has been merged into one that is called the investment company, NBFC investment and credit companies. Need for risk-based regulatory and supervisory control. We have seen the increasing number of NBFCs, the segment HFCs. So some were smaller, bigger, or have a different perception of risk, So idea was that to have a risk-based supervisory control instead of one string, one control for all. There was a need to have a regulatory risk-based supervisory control. So these were the perception which was behind the regulatory shift. So the framework of October 22, 2020, what they have brought in new is the principal business criteria. Because every NBFC, you see, whether it's an asset management company or any other company, they are paramount to their linked to their principal business criteria. If it is an asset financing company, so or the infra company, so primarily they have to be in that segment. Similarly, housing finance companies, they have thought they have to stay in the housing finance business. So they have given a roadmap for to be in business of housing finance. They have provided a roadmap, and by the year March 31st, 2024, all the HFCs should have of their total assets, 60% into housing finance and of 50% in the individual housing finance. So that bring in the principle of qualifying. Why this change? Because RBI wanted HFCs to be at par with NBFC. So NBFC business is going by qualifying assets. So that was the reason behind. HFCs to remain focused on retail housing portfolio, not less than 50% of their total assets should be in individual housing. Exposure to commercial estate, real estate, non-housing, LAP to be restricted below 40%. So 60%, and then remaining 40%, they could be in the commercial real estate or LAP. So HFCs to remain specialized, because HFCs are the specialized housing finance companies, which the commercial banks are not. And they have a proficiency, they have experts, they have a role to play in housing finance. So the regulatory and refinance approach are at variance. So there was some variance on NHB's directions and for refinance and the regulatory directions. The second change which they have brought in, the minimum regulatory capital which is required to run a business of housing finance. So for a new company, the NOF requirement has been pegged at 20 crores. And for the existing companies and not having the 20 crores, RBI has given a roadmap to reach that minimum regulatory capital by March 2022. The regulatory capital of 15% they have to reach. HFCs in the business of needing long. So why this change is there? Because housing finance is a capital intensive. It's a long term. It's not a your capital is not coming. It's not a short. It is a long cycle business. So they need a capital. Warding off against market fluctuations, because to meet the market fluctuations and the market risk, you have to have your enough capital at your hand. NOF of existing HFCs falling below 20 crores to achieve it by March 2023. So those who are not having minimum regulatory capital, they have to reach it by March 2023. What is going to stay is that what the RBI has said, those deposit taking companies, there was a requirement of having the liquid assets in terms of their deposits. So that is covered under Section 29B of the NHB Act, and reserve fund requirement of 29C under NHB Act, that is not going to change. So these provisions will remain. Minimum percentage of liquid assets retained at 13% of HFCs accepting deposit as against 15%. So that's a difference. So this concession, or you can say a sort of relaxation, is to stay for HFCs. They are not going to have 15% as required for NBFC. They will be restricted at 13%. So exemptions, there were some special exemptions which has been granted to HFCs as compared to NBFCs. One of those exemptions were creation of a special reserve under Section 36(1)(8) of Income Tax Act. So they are now under 29C. They can create a special fund. They call it of not less than 20% of their profit. They can park it in their special fund, and this special fund and the requirement under 36(1)(8) are interchangeable. You can create either of two and will be treated. It will be counted for the IT purpose. Exemption encourage HFCs to carry on long term. So why this has been retained? Because regulator or the government, they wanted HFCs to carry on long-term housing finance, retail housing finance, more than 5 years and above. So exemptions continue to be governed by the NHB Act. So these were the exemptions which is going to stay. The third regulatory change is the guidelines on liquidity risk management framework. So earlier also we were having ALM guidelines of NHB. We were having the various statements, liquidity statements, dynamic liquidity and structured liquidity statements. we were bucketing the liability and the assets into time buckets, and there were some prudential norms which were to be maintained in terms of the negative breaches. So what is changed? What is the new thing has come? So this is the new regulatory framework has been made applicable to all HFCs deposit taking and non-deposit taking with 100 crores and above of asset size. So this is applicable to all the companies who are accepting deposits or non-deposit taking with asset size of 100 crores. The idea is to strengthen and raise standard of ALM. ALM is a very important, sensitive statement. So idea was to strengthen it. The shorter time buckets of 30 days have been more granularized. It has been made shortened to meet the short-term liquidity gaps. So they have made 1 to 7, 8 to 14 days, and 15 to 30 days in the structural time liquidity. The buckets negative breaches mismatches is not to exceed in 10%, 10%, and 20%. So in the 1 to 7 days, not to exceed negative breach, cumulative negative breach, 10% maximum, 8 to 14, 10, and 15 to 30, 20% against the one common gap limit of 15%. So they have been more granularized in the first to 30 days because the focus is on 1 to 30 days. Now for the remaining time buckets, it has been left to the board of the HFC to determine the internal prudential limits for time buckets up to 1 year and above. So there is no regulatory limits, but it is set to the board to based on their profile of business and their liability and asset mismatches. They can set their own limits. Interest rate sensitivity statement is to follow the similar standards. So earlier NHB has not provided any regulatory limits for interest rate sensitivity. It was left to the board to have their internal limits. But now again, interest rate sensitivity is to follow the first three buckets, what is prescribed for structural liquidity, and for remaining buckets, it is board set limits. So second change is the board to put in place necessary internal monitoring mechanism to capture strain in liquidity. So liquidity is the concern in the NBFC HFC segment. So what is required is that what are the internal system to take care is that concentration of funding by counterparty, instrument, and currency. So you have to set limits against the counterparty, against the instrument, type of instrument. You are, yeah, any questions? And by type of currency, if you are in a multi-currency borrowing or something, so you have to set your own concentration limits. Availability of unencumbered assets that can be used as collateral for raising funds. So you have to have free unencumbered assets which can be used for liquidity purpose. Certain early warning. Yeah. Kindly switch off the. Please switch off the microphone. There are certain early warning markets-based indicator. RBI has expected the HFCs to have some system of early market-based indicators such as book to equity ratio.
So you are on mute.
Okay. Then you have to set your own limits for how much short-term liability to total assets, short-term it is a liability to long-term assets, commercial papers to total assets, and NCDs original maturity of less than 1 year to total assets, short-term liabilities to total liabilities, and long-term assets to total assets. So there is some ratio concepts. The stock approach is to be maintained in the entire liquidity risk management framework. So then extension of liquidity risk management principles to cover other aspects of monitoring and measurement of liquidity risk. So what are the, I'm sorry, it's some noises. So what are the, yeah, please switch off. Otherwise, it will be noise all the time.
Yeah, we request everyone to be on mute. In case you need to ask a question, then only unmute. Thanks, everyone.
So what are the other extensions of framework is that off balance sheet and contingent liabilities. You have to have your stress testing, intra-group fund transfers, diversification of funding, collateral position management, and contingency funding. So these are the extensions of the risk management where you have to have your own internal guidelines. The other aspect of shift in regulatory regime for the HFC is that the concept of liquidity coverage ratio. Earlier, this liquidity coverage ratio is applicable for banks. It was brought for applicable to NBFCs, and now the HFCs have been brought into the framework of liquidity coverage ratio. So they have to maintain certain level of liquid assets, maintenance liquidity buffer in terms of percentage of high quality liquid assets. So this is applicable to all non-deposit taking HFCs with asset size of 10,000 crores and above, and all deposit taking HFCs, irrespective of their asset size, shall maintain a liquidity buffer in terms of the LCR. They have to have the sufficient high quality liquid assets to survive any acute liquidity stress scenario lasting for 30 days. So what they have to do, and they have to maintain minimum 100% of total net cash outflows over the next 30 calendar days. So all the companies which are coming under the application of this framework, they have to work out what is the net cash outflows of over the next 30 calendar days. So every time you have to work out what is your net cash outflows in the next 30 days. And of that, you have to maintain certain HQLA. These are the high quality liquid assets. And this has been made into effect from December 1, 2020, with the minimum HQLA to be held being 50% and progressively reaching up to the required level of 100% by December 1, 2024. And for HFCs, non-deposit taking and having asset size of 5,000 crores and up to 10,000 crores. So 50% was required for companies which are 10,000 and above. The companies which are non-deposit taking and have asset size of 5,000 crores, between 5,000 and 10,000 crores, they have to maintain the LCR ratio of 30% to begin with and to reach 100% by December 24. So these are the dates which have been prescribed by the RBI for the companies to maintain the LCR. Now, question is, what is the high quality liquid assets? The high quality liquid asset means liquid assets that can be readily sold or immediately converted into cash at little or no loss of value, or used as collateral to obtain funds in a range of stress scenario. So that is the HQLA they have defined. A liquidity coverage ratio is equal to stock of HQLA you have to the total net cash outflows over the next 30 calendar days. So if you have a suppose 100 crores of net cash outflows over the next 30 days, then you have to have minimum 30 crores of SQLA for the companies having 5,000 to 10,000 crores of asset size. If you are having 10,000 and above, then you have to have 50%, 50 crores of the HQLA, and this ratio is to be maintained on a progressively. So as and when your net cash flows increases or decreases, you have to maintain the ratio. So what comes under the high quality liquid assets is cash, your investment in government securities, your investment in marketable securities issued or guaranteed by the foreign sovereigns carrying 0% risk. So the HQLA under this category, there is no haircut. So whatever is the book value you have, you can take it entire book value of these assets under this category as HQLA. But there are other categories also. Say, suppose you have investment securities issued by PSEs, corporate bonds, CPs of entities with minimum AA minus rating. So if you have that kind of asset class, then you cannot take the entire book value. You have to cut 15% haircut. You can take only 85% of this book value for your HQLA purpose. For other kind of market assets, marketable securities, one has to take a 50% haircut. So that is the prescription. This has been given by RBI for working out the LCR. The detailed guidelines have been issued. So for details, you can always refer to the RBI circular on LCR for NBFCs. Other focus area of shift is the, HFCs were not having any guidelines on securitization and direct transfer cases. So they were always, referring to RBI, questions were raised. NHB has not issued any guidelines on securitization. So now it has been made clear that the HFCs, if they are going for securitization or credit enhancement or direct assignment, they have to refer to the guidelines now, which are applicable for NBFCs. Fill the regulatory gap of HFCs undertaking mortgage-based securitization and assignment. So that's a very important development which has been, given directions given to HFCs, because many of the companies, they raise resources through securitization or assignment. So now this is some directions are available. Managing risk and code of conduct in outsourcing of financial services. So these guidelines have been also made applicable to HFCs if you are going to have outsourcing of financial services, DMA, DSA, or all those things. Implementation of Indian Accounting Standard Master Directions of March 13 and July 24 of applicable to NBFCs. So RBI has given the implementation guidelines of Ind AS. So you can follow. So what these guidelines says is that the board is to approve sound methodology for computation of expected credit loss. So you have to have a board approved methodology. HFCs to hold impairment reserve as required by Ind AS. So if you have a provisions which are short of regulatory provisions under Ind AS, so you have the difference of the two. You have to hold it as a impairment reserve. And balance in impairment reserve shall not be reckoned for regulatory capital. So when you are working for own funds, so whatever you are holding as impairment reserve, it will not be recognized for the purpose of own fund. No withdrawal shall be permitted from this reserve without prior permission from Department of Supervision, RBI. So if you are drawing from this fund, you have to seek the permission. Regulatory ratios, limits, and disclosure shall be based on Ind AS figures. You have to follow the financials, financial data, what is coming on the balance sheet, you have to take it on any kind of reporting. Impaired assets and restructured assets shall be considered as non-performing assets for calculation of NPA ratios. Disclosure in notes to financial statements. So these are the certain guidelines which has come out from RBI on the implementation of Indian accounting standard. There is a detailed circular is available. So you can go into details of this circular. What are the other focus area of shift is that the exposure of housing finance companies to group companies engaged in real estate business. So that's a small change which has been brought in. Suppose if you are investing in a group company who is in the business of real estate activities, because the group might be having financing and real estate business also together. So if you are holding any kind of investments or lending or so that will be counted for the purpose of single and group exposure. So directly or indirectly, or if suppose your associate company in a group, they come out with a project and the buyers are there who take the flats or something in that project. So whatever the lending to the customers will be counted for. It is an indirect exposure in the group companies which are engaged in real estate activities. So either you can directly lend or invest, or through indirect way of doing that is their customers you are financing for the purchase. So that will be also counted for the purpose, and not to exceed 15 and 25% the exposure limits. HFC's exposure on and off balance sheet to group companies undertaking real estate business, along with HFC's exposure on retail loans of individual units in those projects would be counted. So this is the implications. For example, I have just quoted, it is just for quoting the example, nothing in my comments to the group. Suppose DHFL are group companies undertaking real estate business and like others. So earlier such restrictions was not there. So this is the new change they have brought in. Then master directions on monitoring of frauds and information technology framework. This has been made to applicable to HFCs as it was with NBFC. So we have to refer to the RBI directions to NBFCs for fraud and IT framework. But content-wise, there is no change, because when the NHB has come out, they are basically at common page of RBI when they have come out with the guidelines on monitoring of frauds and IT framework. So content-wise, there is no change, but reference point of view, you can always refer, because NHB circulars have been repealed. So Uh, so I'm going to quickly finish my this session. Uh, uh, so except for 2-3 more slides, and then it will be open for discussions, because I want at least half of the time of my session should be spent on interaction with the participants. So what are the challenges and opportunities? For any change, it's a little painful, but it is for a betterment, which is for the, uh, so whatever the lopsided laps or the gaps were there, spaces which have been wanted to be filled.
RBI. Management RBI ಕೊಡೋದಾ? ಆಯ್ತು ಕೆಲವು ಮತ್ತೆ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಸರ್ಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಅಂತ. ಸರ್ಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ.
Can you please switch off? So we have passed through the liquidity strain of 2019, where the ILFS and after that DHFL collapse. And then we have passing through the outbreak of COVID-19. So this has brought the sector, all the activities on the hold, on the demand as well as on supply side. Demand and liquidity constraints intensified in the housing sector. House sales and launches, which had declined by 16% and 35% YOY respectively during Q3 of 1920, were pulled down by around 26% and 51% respectively during Q4 of 1920. These are the RBI TNP figures. I'm quoting here for the purpose of presentation, just to have sense of the strains which have the sector is passing through. The event of lockdown, social distancing measures adopted in the wake of COVID-19, migration of laborers working in the real estate sector, etc., are expected to affect real estate projects and also result in demand contraction. Slowdown is consolidated growth of HFCs to 4.3% in 1920 from 16.4% in 1819. Bank borrowings remain stable, while market borrowings, which debentures or CPs, remain weak source of funding for the HFCs. Then barring few major HFCs, PAT shown YOY growth of 20.7% in 1920 against decline of 8.7% in 1890. GNPA and NNPA ratios stood at 1.4% and 0.8%. So on the asset quality side, they were okay. To sum up, 1920 generally muted credit demand. DHFL episode and the slowdown in the housing sector led to sharp deceleration in loans and advances by HFCs, thus in turn affected their profitability. Banks shown reluctance to weaker HFCs due to bar on moving ahead on IBC processes, because they cannot, there's a hold on any new IBC processes. So the banks are little reluctant to give loans to weaker HFCs. On high value default loans, way forward, post-COVID high level of NPAs and provisioning cost and banks consolidation in progress. So these were the reasons, few reasons. Way forward, they think that there will be high level of NPAs and bank consolidation is still going on, and the bar on IBC process, any new cases, they cannot be taken up. So these are the reasons for banks showing little reluctance to companies which are on not so good rated. Market remains muted on HFC's debt participation. So if you come out with any debt paper, you are not very hopeful of getting good returns on the good rates, but still the market is going to come up, and the green shoots are coming up in the supply side as well as on the demand side, and we can expect the growth in the housing finance sector after say about a year, it will take to reach to the pre-COVID level. So this is all about I wanted to say on this session. Though it is a short, but it is a just to introduce the concepts. It is an introduce the what are the new regime of regulatory framework which is coming in way, and now master directions have come by RBI for HFCs. I have not gone into full details of the master directions so far, but I will definitely come up with a next session, second series session on detailed. But more or less, there is not much change. There is not much material change in the master direction. So it is not going to surprise anyone because whatever you have in your place as a regulatory framework for various activities, kind of activities, they are the same. Rather, wherever there no clear directions were available, no clear guidelines were available, it has now been that space has been filled wherever the gaps were there. So, but it is coming through a stabilization process. It is not something which is coming as a shock. So every step, is a very measured one, and you have to reach to the step in a given frame of time. So sufficient time has been given for HFCs, and those who are really interested in being in the housing finance business, they will definitely do much better now. Because why I'm saying this? Because you are now at par. So whatever the NBFC and HFC, they are at par now. If you go in the market, your paper will be equally rated. So they will not have anything, any risk perception, any more risk perception for HFCs or NBFCs. So those period is over. There was a period when HFCs were to given some relaxations. So RBI has given that. They have given the special limits for HFCs for banks in the large exposure guidelines. Even 5% more they can lend to HFC segment. But now, now it is a matured market. HFCs have run a long way in the business, and that's you have to be competitive, and you have to put your house in order first. So that's all I wanted to say in this session. And now it is open for the discussions, interactions, questions, answers. So feel free to ask questions.
Hi, we now open we have the floor open for questions. Please tell your name and name of a company, and then please ask a question.
Good evening, sir. Hi, this is Shatrupa from HDFC Legal Department.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So basically, I've not gone through the circular, so I would just request you to bear with me in case it is very evident in the circular.
No.
So, firstly, I just wanted to understand that if all circulars of RBI, whether they were addressed to HFCs or NBFCs separately, will now be directly applicable to all HFCs, or only the circulars that have been listed out in this master directions?
Okay. Now you have a master directions for HFCs. Earlier, as NHB was coming out with the master circulars and master directions for HFCs. So it is available, it is applicable to all the HFCs. The master directions, which has been brought by yesterday, 17 February circular, which is applicable to all the registered HFCs. But there are certain sections, certain directives which are applicable to certain area asset size companies, or the deposit taking or non-deposit taking. They have specified those things. Say IT framework or regulatory framework or yeah. So they have said said in where it is applicable, but otherwise the directions are now made applicable to HFCs. You need not to go anywhere. You have to just see your master directions, which has come out yesterday.
Okay, sir. And so what about those regulations of RBI, the circulars, which were specifically applicable to banks, like say MCLR, etc., the benchmark rate and all that they had come up with earlier, that was not applicable
No.
on HFC. So
No,
will
no.
they be applicable on us now?
No. Those are, now you have to refer only your master directions. So
Okay.
the going here and there has that part processes have been eliminated, and they have been made focused now for the housing finance. So everything in the master direction itself, they say you refer to the NBFC circular, then you refer it. Suppose securitization or outsourcing or IT framework, they have said you refer to NBFC circular for details. So you can always do that.
Right, sir. So one more question from my side. Suppose in the KYC circular that RBI had come up with, where they kind of allowed video KYC, CKYC, there they had made a distinction on what is permissible for a bank and what is permissible for an HFC, which are the other regulated entities. So distinction continues to remain, right?
That will continue to remain. Yeah.
Right, so from me, they were the only two questions I had.
KYC master direction is also, they have made applicable to HFCs also, same NBFC circular. So within the circular, there are certain things which has been, only for banks to do. So there you are not, that is not applicable to you.
Right, sir.
Yeah.
So thank you for the clarity.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else?
Saxena ji, I have a small question.
Good. Nice to see you, sir.
I am DS Tripathi, you know well. In that definition of housing assets and the individual home loan asset of 50% and 60% housing asset, the RBI is talking about the 60% of total assets.
Right.
And 50% of the individual assets of the total asset.
Yeah.
Now I'm giving an example. HFC having 10,000 crore rupees book after securitization and all that thing, the book has to be taken as total asset. And if they are maintaining the cash liquidity meant for doing the housing finance business, because of pandemic, many companies are keeping, I am telling my company only, we are keeping a huge liquidity. Or even other companies also who are having huge liquidity. Suppose we are having 3,000 crore rupees huge liquidity with us. So our actually they will reckon housing asset as 60% means 6,000 crore, and individual asset 50% means 5,000 crore. But if we have 3,000 crore cash and 7,000 crore rupees is left out, the home loan and LAP loan, then unfortunately we have 1,500 crore LAP loan, then 60% will fall, will be reduced, and we will only 55%, 5,500 rupees. That will be a problem. I think RBI should allowed to include the cash balance, excluding cash balance, then should have done it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the companies like me or many other companies which has got 85% plus home loan asset, they will also be not qualifying.
Yeah, true. These concerns have been expressed, and some of the companies, they have represented to RBI also. Because if you look at the NHB refinance directions, so under the refinance, they also say 50%, 51% should be for individual housing loan portfolio. So there in the total assets, they are allowing you to exclude cash and bank balance, or in your investment in liquid assets, say liquid mutual funds, and intangible assets. So these two things were allowed to be deducted from the total assets to work out the 51%. So your denominator is reduced by the cash and bank balances. But in the regulatory definition of this housing principal business criteria, so they have not allowed the cash balances to be reduced from the total assets.
So don't you think it is contradictory to their own guidelines of having a liquidity coverage ratio?
No.
They want liquidity coverage ratio. For that, every company will keep at least 3 months of the outflow with them. And if they have 3 months, actually all financial assets should not be reduced, but at least the cash and cash equivalent, which is meant for the housing finance business, that should have been reduced by that.
No, I'm true. but if you see the sense, why the difference is there, because here we are defining the regulatory benchmark for principal business criteria, and there is a credit function, that is a refinancing means. So if you have a cash, it is to be converted sooner or later, it will going to originate the housing loans. So that view was taken, why the cash should not be deducted. Either you have a assets loan books, or if you have a cash, but this is a something which is not very normal or routine. You get a cash whenever any transactions is happening, as you said, direct assignment, or you have some preference capital and these shares have not been allotted and you keep it in the cash. It's a temporary phenomena. So there the RBI sense of regulatory approach and the credit approach have two different connotations. So they have not agreed to reduce the cash and time balance.
But sir, I believe that there has, I agree with the credit approach is different, regulatory approach is different.
Right.
Then when RBI expect each company to have liquidity for the purpose of honoring this liabilities and disbursement,
right.
then how every company, I am giving you my company's case, we have net of securitization 10,000 crore rupees loan book. And we were carrying around 3,000 crore, 2,500 crore rupees cash all those 7-8 months. So when the other day I was working, we reached hardly, and we have 86% home loans, individual home loans.
Right.
And our individual home loans, though they were 60%, but housing finance asset, I could have only 60.4%. We are at the brink of breaching the guidelines. Though glide path is given, but I never thought that I will take advantage of glide path, because we are entirely retail home loan focused company.
Right.
If my company or any my other friends who are managing the entire home loan only and barring some percentage of LAP loan, suppose a company is having 10,000 crore rupees asset and 25% they have the LAP. Then in that case, 7,500 crore is left out for them as a, and out of that, if they have 2,000 crore cash, then they will breach. Then they will 60%, they will never have it. So I think cash and cash, how to represent your cash and cash equivalent, if they will not count, that is my raw material to convert to the home loans. If I have investment in shares, I have investment in government securities, if I have other financial assets, you don't give advantage. But you must give advantage, which I am keeping a FD or a liquid cash for the purpose of business.
Right. Yeah.
Because in today's environment, borrowing at 8% and keeping FDI at 3%, nobody would like to have.
Yeah. So, but only thing is that this keeping the huge cash is not a regular phenomena, because it happens sometimes, but you always keep a marginal level of cash and other liquid assets also to maintain the LCR and the liquidity strains. And moreover, they are asking you to manage only over 30 days of negative cash flows. So
that is much riskier. Liquidity coverage ratio, they are asking 30 days.
30 days.
That is much riskier. No? Yeah. Every company keeps around 2.5 months, 3 months of cash outflow, net of collections.
Yeah, your point is good. You can represent.
I will represent, but I do not know. My other colleagues are there. They are listening, whether they are clean to represent or not.
Yeah, right.
I am taking away the HFC council that they should represent, because this is going to be a breach for many companies. You just calculate for all the great companies which are 100% retail focused, they will also have this problem.
And moreover, this problem is more so in 31st March, because you have a large cash.
All banks will compel me to withdraw their.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. And there's a difference in approach by supervisor, NHB, and the regulator, RBI, in definition of liquid. So you can always, there's a point to represent.
Yeah, we for a year or so, we have a glide path, we will not have a problem.
Right.
But when I am surprised when I was claiming always that we are 86% retail individual home loan,
right,
and we are breaching that guidelines, or we are at the brink of breaching the guidelines.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, there could be problem.
I thought I should ask this question to you.
Yeah, you're welcome, sir. Yes. Nice to see you. Nice to talk to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for taking this initiative. That is, I think, is nice of you.
No, it's thanks to Mr. Sumesh, the Lex Fabios organizer, and we are going to have a series of discussions on this.
Yeah. No, that is really nice of you and the organizers.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hi, do we have anyone for any more clarifications required by anyone?
The participants can email the questions if they are not ready right now, and that will be answered by Lex Fabios.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I think what we'll do is we'll go through the circular also, because I'm sure we will have more queries. Once we go through it.
Okay.
But your presentation was very, very insightful. Thank you so much. And Sumesh, thank you so much.
Actually, I am
Initiative.
I am asking
Pleasure.
Lex, Sumesh to invite the topics for discussions also for the future series. So is whatever you require for topic to be discussed, we will come forward with that. So that should be
Right, sir.
helpful.
So thank you.
Yeah. So please feel free to send your suggestions and anything you would like to hear more about.
Yeah.
We can cover it in future sessions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sumesh. So nice.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Of you.